All right, welcome folks. Till Yuval comes, we'll skip past the first topic. So next up is Jane about, you had questions about multi-site and versioned objects, right?
Uh, yes. So we recently got an issue. It's for like version buckets, and the problem is like we have like we upload multiple versions of an object, and then did the deletion, and LC also kicked in on the secondary side to clean it up. So after everything's supposed to be cleaned up, actually there's something, the OLH entry left over with the, of course, like the pending removal as true, and instance ID is empty, and also exists this false. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's legit to for that to stick around or not, but it caused problem for us. So when the following put object coming in for the same name, actually, the primary side is totally fine. The latest upload treated as the current version, but the secondary, because of this leftover OLH entry, it cannot be promoted to the current. Its current flag is not set. So when the LC comes in later on, and it treated as a non-current, and also because it's not able to load the timestamp correctly. So it probably, the very next day, it's got deleted. And then it's replicated back to the primary. The primary one is also got deleted. So this is a real data loss. So my question is, how does your OLH entry supposed to work? Is it like is it supposed to be stick around after everything is deleted? Who's going to clean it up? I mean,
Right, it is meant to be cleaned up. Let's see, there's some logic in some logic on the client side. Let's see, so the OLH log is like coordinated between the version's OLH head object.
yeah, and also like the OLH head object also remains for us. And when I list attributes, the a bunch of OLH pending something.
Okay.
Mhm.
Right, so there's a coordination between that head object and the bucket index's OLH entry.
Yeah.
Where the index keeps like the OLH log of pending operations, and I think it's the RGW side that's supposed to delete that. I'm not positive once all of the pending deletes are finished.
It's some like it's dumb background or
It should be part of the last delete app that happens.
okay. Yeah,
So there's some step where RGW is replaying the OLH log and making sure that the OLH head object is in the same state. I'm not sure if that part is responsible for deleting the OLH index entry.
and in my case, that entry just stays there forever. Somewhere is broken. One that entry from being deleted.
Mm-hmm. I do think I understand why after that happens, a new put doesn't get promoted. I assume that's because the master zone is starting over with OLH epoch at at 0 or 1, whatever the first number is.
Yeah, that's
But
exactly what happened to us. Like the epoch is smaller than this.
It's
right.
not true actually. So it's the first object of a clean bucket, empty version bucket.
I wonder. So if this thing happens, does it cause a big issue if somehow the code override this OLH entry anyway, no matter if there's any pending stuff or not?
Sorry, overwrites what?
So yeah, because we're thinking about how to get out of this situation, right? So right now, basically, unless we manually delete that OLH entry, like just stack around, there's no way out of this situation. So we are thinking about in this unlink instance where we set this pending removal as true. Is it okay we set the epoch to 0, to reset the epoch to 0 at that point? So it allows the future put object actually to go ahead and be able to be promoted to the current.
Interesting.
So if I added a link, I think in case you added that code, like here, you reset the OLH entry, like as Jane suggested, can we also reset the epoch at that point where we set the pending removal? Like, does it?
Maybe, I'm not sure. I mean, at this point, might we still expect more racing writes or deletes on that same object name that would still rely on the epoch?
So basically, the reason why it's stick around is there's still some pending operations not done. Somehow it's broken. Never reaches to the end, to the point this one is being deleted.
So yeah, I'm not sure if unlink instance is the right place to do this. I would expect that RGW would send that, and then it would read the OLH log and replay stuff, and eventually trim the OLH log. Is trim OLH log the place where it finally deletes once everything is done, or not? Doesn't look like it. RGW bucket clear OLH. Hmm. One thing that I do notice in addition to the OLH epoch number is that there's also an OLH tag. Is that tag like unique to the entire lifetime of the OLH entry? If so, if it's deleted and recreated, maybe the tag will change and multi-site will know to expect the epochs to reset.
So in our case, this tag no matter what we do next, it never changes.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Well, I don't know if other folks here have suggestions, but I think the next step would be to create a tracker issue with the simplest reproducer you can, and we can try
Yeah,
to reproduce and help that way.
the problem is like we were able to reproduce it, but it's just pure based on pure luck. Like it's not, we are not able to consistently reproduce this. I guess we have to understand more in order to create a reproducer. I mean, and we don't know what events will lead to this. Like, I just tried randomly those put order deletion LC, all these combinations, and eventually get this situation. But I'm not able to recreate the exact same situation.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember the exact conditions for finally deleting the OLH entry, but maybe there's like a manual thing, like RGW admin BIRM, if we have such a thing.
Okay.
Might be able to delete that manually and give a reproducer.
Okay. Yeah, I can try to find something. But we're gonna create a tracker for this. Discuss over there.
Sounds good. Yeah, I remember it being really tough getting versioning to work over multi-site, and it's still not perfect. So, so yeah, I do think this is a gap. And hopefully there's some more information that we can pass over multi-site, I guess, through the BI log entries, so that secondary zones are able to detect when epoch numbers are reset, even if they can't consistently clean up their own OLH entries.
I have a general question about this condition, if we should call it that. So in this case, we have master and secondary. In the master, we have put tracing with life cycle delete on the secondary. If those two things are happening at the exact same moment in time, which one of them wins? How does it work in general?
For now, keep doing that. I think that's okay. So I imagine when we're just planning this up, then we probably have to add it upgrade stuff. So that way, once we get to doing the upgrades.
good question. I guess
Is there any lock-in mechanism involved in this, or like does they both bump up their epochs at the same time? Are there any like timestamp that is I'm sorry, associated with an epoch, and then this somehow gets resolved based on a timestamp?
so. Ignoring versioning and deletes for now, and just considering an object put request on zone A and zone B at the same time, then each zone would see a BI log entry from the other and compare the timestamp with what it has, and whichever had the newer timestamp would win, and both zones would converge to that.
Okay, so BI log,
deletes-
one of the sides gets access to the BI logs, it writes an entry, and then the other side proceeds, right? Something like that?
Well, each zone would see an entry from the other and try to fetch that object to replace its own. but that request would only succeed if the timestamp of what it was trying to fetch was newer than what it had locally.
Okay, so in other words, it is critical that both sides, they have their clock synchronized. Precisely.
Not exactly. I mean, when an object replicates, its M time stays the same. So even if there was time skew on one side, both zones would still converge on whatever one had the newer timestamp, the newer M time.
Okay.
But deletes are tricky because we don't have the object's M time anymore. Like, we don't leave an object around with an M time for comparison. So I don't remember exactly what happens there.
Okay. But anyway, bylaw is the key to conflict resolution. When we don't talk about deletes.
Well, the BI log is what triggers a zone to try to fetch the latest version from the remote.
Okay.
And it's the M time comparisons of that GET request that resolve the race.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Maybe one last question. So you mentioned about replaying OLH logs. So OLH log is independently maintained by each class in a multi-site setup, or is it also replicated as a part of metadata from master to secondary?
Each zone has its own OLH log.
Looks separate, right? Okay, they're not shared across. Okay.
Correct. Multi-site just sees the BI log entries corresponding to the link and unlink CLS ops. And so we'll replay those. And those BI log entries have the OLH epoch. And so we kind of expect those epochs to be the same across zones so that every zone gets the same order of current and the rest. But yeah, it seems that if any zone removes their OLH entry from the index, then the ordering becomes inconsistent again. All right, any more discussion on this point?
Nope, we're good.
All right, still don't see Yuval, but there was an issue of essentially a use case for the V1 behavior where multi-site didn't replicate topic notification stuff. And I don't want to, there was essentially a request to have an option not to replicate topic notification metadata, and I don't really want to add special cases to the multi-site consistency model for that. But there's a link to a PR where I'd like to continue discussion about this. So if you guys have thoughts, then catch up on the discussion there. Maybe we can revisit next week with Yuval. Other than those topics, I just had a couple that were essentially announcements. I noticed that all of RGW's toothology suites are failing on all of our branches now due to some failure to look up the Ceph group. So I'm trying to get assistance from the infrastructure team to help fix that in the short term. But in the longer term, it looks like that code needs some retry behavior to not fail in this case. If anybody's interested in working on that, I linked the tracker there. And then finally, Thursday we did release Squid, so I'm excited about that. Haven't heard any bug reports yet about the account feature, but I'll keep an eye out. But overall, just thanks everybody for your hard work on that release. I'm excited about it. And especially for the help from Bloomberg and testing and design for the accounts feature. Any other topics for the agenda? All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.